Hello, Sarah. Welcome to Soul
Hey,
Sessions.
thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so excited for you to be on the show. It was just funny how we met. I mean, I've been following you for a while now, and you messaged me and you were like, "Oh, oops, wait, I didn't mean to send you that message." I'm like, "Actually, Sarah, now that we're talking, would you like to be on my show?" And you're like, "Yeah, sure."
Yes, please.
So, Sarah, tell us a little bit about what you do. I noticed that you are a big, fitness uh, guru. You love to
Right.
promote fitness and working out to specifically, I mean, Jewish women, but I think in
hmm
general to all types of women. So, just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so my favorite sport growing up was sitting on the couch with a really good book. As a kid, I was the last kid picked for any sports game, and you could not pay me to go to the gym. When I was 21 and moving from Toronto, where I grew up, to Northern California, I felt like it's probably a good time to bring some physical movement into my life just because it's not healthy to live a totally sedentary lifestyle. But for me, exercise was directly associated with the treadmill and with Zumba and with a step class or kickboxing. None of those things appeal to me. And I'd read an article about CrossFit, and the idea of weightlifting intrigued me. So I figured I'll give it a shot. I'm not going to get into the details. If anyone out there, if you bring me in to speak, you'll hear the full story.
Okay.
Um, but in a nutshell, I fell in love with CrossFit. I loved how it made me feel. I realized how capable my body is. I'm naturally weak, and through that process, I realized that there's so much I could do and so much that I'm able to do if I just give myself the opportunity. And through my fitness journey, and in speaking to the people around me, I realized that fitness is really not prioritized in the Frum community
Mm,
specifically. And I think that is very much due to the direct association of exercise with weight loss. And so if people are trying to lose weight and they go to the gym and the pounds are not instantly falling off, it's the first thing that goes.
right.
Whereas really, I think if we actually understood the benefits of working out and moving our bodies in a way that makes us feel good, we
Hmm.
would all do it because it's so beneficial to so many areas of our health, physically, emotionally, mentally, all of that stuff. We just haven't been educated in large part, and or the experiences that we've had with it have not necessarily been positive ones. And so a client of mine actually kind of introduced me. So by mistake, I got my CrossFit certification. I started training women, and I was doing it from a body neutral perspective, which basically means I didn't promote weight loss. But it was by fluke. It wasn't. It was kind of just like I couldn't lose weight and maintain my weight loss, so I couldn't promise my clients results that I myself
Mm.
couldn't find. And so one of my clients actually introduced me to intuitive eating, and it sounds like you had a few amazing episodes recently about it. So refer to that. Um,
I actually
and
didn't
once
speak
I,
about intuitive eating on my any of my podcasts yet. So
what?
no, I haven't. I mean, like people touched on it, but never to the extent that we might be talking
Wait,
about.
I thought you said that like Gila and you had Gila and Elisheva and forgot who else.
Gila and Elisheva Weiner? Weiner?
Yeah.
No,
Was that not you?
it was probably not me.
Okay, it wasn't. It wasn't
I mean, I
Project
had Rachel
Proactive.
Tuckman
Okay, it
come
was
to my
no,
community.
no, 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 no. It was Project Proactive.
Yes, yes,
Because we're doing a live next week. Sorry.
yes.
Okay.
That's okay.
Um,
Cool.
so, but basically, I started doing my own research and I started learning and I started educating myself on concepts such as health at every size and intuitive eating and joyful movement, and really learning that health is so much more than our weight and size. And once I became more educated, then I was able to actually start intentionally offering my clients a weight neutral fitness experience. And I very much enjoy working out, and I liked what I was doing. My clients were getting the results they were looking for. But I started realizing as this conversation was starting within the Frum community that there was so much more education that needed to happen. And I love talking. So I've kind of taken a step back recently from working one-on-one with clients and focusing more on speaking and educating and just helping people understand what it is that we're doing here and why this is important, and giving them practical tools and tips on how to start implementing that into their lives.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where we're at.
Wow. I wanted to ask you, actually, do you get any resistance from your clients and people that you speak to about like, wait, what do you mean? So what's the point of exercising if you're not going to lose weight? What's the
Right.
point? Because a lot of people just see it as a way to lose weight and be fit. So when they see you promoting exercise as just joyful movement and, you know, weight neutral, you know, exercise that you said,
Yeah.
how do you deal with that? And do you get
So
resistance?
I'll tell you the honest truth. Um, at the beginning, I very much felt like I was part of an underground, and it hurt me when I saw people who were resistant to it, because for sure that exists. I mean, we have to recognize that we're going on like what, 6 decades of diet culture. This is not like, oh, it's only been around for 2-3 years and now we're switching it up. Like, this is something that the messages that we've been given with regards to weight and size and value and all of that is very much embedded in our psyche, for better or for worse,
Right.
for worse. So what I realized, I would say in the last year, is that instead of trying to fight and fix a broken system, I'm here to create a new one, a better one, a safer one, a stronger one that with time will overpower the broken one that exists. So I'm not looking to like fight it out, to change anyone's minds, um to really, I'm here to shake things up, but not for the people who aren't ready. And what I realized is that so many women are ready. These are messages that we're craving because really, really, that's how we're supposed to live. So when it's almost like I'm giving people permission to just really be themselves and explore health in a way that really suits their bodies. And it's such an incredible and exciting thing for me, because it's it's amazing to see how well it's received. But really, it's not me. Like, I've been educated by so many others, and I'm just sort of passing on the message. And
Mm-hmm.
I would say, for the most part, the ones who follow me and the ones who connect with me are really people who are ready for it, and they're open and they're listening. It doesn't mean that there's no resistance. Again, they've had decades of opposite messaging, but they're there to hear. And really, all I'm here to do is to let people know that this is an option, obviously a better option,
Mm-hmm.
but just really give them an opportunity to explore something different. And so, does it come up here and there, resistance? Yes. For the most part, again, I have resources. I'm here to educate. I'm not saying it's like, I'm not shutting anyone out unless they get rude or offensive. That's just not acceptable. But for the most part, people are really, really ready to hear it. That's been my experience.
Wow, that's beautiful. And why do you think that this is such a big problem in the Orthodox Jewish community? Do you think it's just singular for the community, or why with a community that the ideals are supposed to be about, you know, the soul and your neshama, and what's inside is what's important? Why is this a problem in the Orthodox Jewish community? Why do you find that?
Okay, so I don't think it's a problem more for us than it is for any other community. It's very much an issue in the secular world, and that's where we got these messages from to begin with, right? Definitely from outside media.
Right.
Um, with that said, I hate when people say, "Oh, it's not a Frum problem, it's not a Jewish problem, it's a world problem," because we're so much better than that. Like, we have a values book that we live by, exactly as you're saying. So many of these things that we're pursuing, the external beauty, the aesthetics, the thinness, is so inconsistent and so incongruent with our Torah values. I don't have an answer. Like, the bottom line is there's no good answer for why this happens. I've spoken to many people about it over time. There are a lot of like theories floating around. We're not great at like acceptance and tolerating diversity and whatever. But
Right.
the bottom line, at the end of the day, those are also Jewish values that we're not like upholding. So at the end of the day, there's no answer. I would say, bottom line, like, I've never said this out loud before, but I think it comes down to like, we're in Gullus, and we've just like absorbed the messages that we shouldn't have. That's the bottom
Right.
line.
Right. And we're human and we are prone to, you know, falling into that trap as well.
Yeah.
You know? It's
Yeah.
not like we are imbued with this special force that we are fully resistant and we have superpowers.
Right.
We're human.
Right.
Um,
Right.
so speaking about the Orthodox Jewish community, I mean, I grew up in a traditional community. We obviously come from different backgrounds.
Yeah.
I'm a Persian Jew, so I grew up, where my parents would keep Shabbat Friday nights and
Right.
like whatever. It wasn't like everybody's accepted in the community. So I'm not so familiar with the way Orthodox Jewish girls grow up with these ideas of tzniut, which is modesty. So
Mhm.
what do you think about how the schools and families teach girls about the laws of modesty? And do you think that helps with a girl's body image?
Okay, so I'm going to share my experience and my perspective, and I know this is shared by many, many, many girls and women in the Frum community, but it's not by any means the only perspective. And pretty much, I'm going to say that applies to like anything we're going to talk about
Okay,
today.
great.
I someone recently kind of shared this analogy, and I think it's very fitting. If you go to any like Frum wedding, there's always going to be a babysitter. There's a babysitter there to take care of the screaming babies or the 2-year-olds who are, too cranky after the chuppah or whatever. No one cares what her name is. No one cares what she's wearing. As long as she's there, she's so important. She's so important. You need that babysitter at the wedding. Sounds like you understand what I'm talking about. But no one cares who she is, what her name is, what
Right.
she's wearing. Like, as long as you know that she's responsible and she's gonna, serve her purpose, great. And I think the messaging that I know I got and that many of us get in the more right-wing system is that our bodies are simply here to serve a purpose. And that's it. They're a vessel for the soul. And so we need to take care of it, but like we don't really give it too much attention. Um, and Chevy Samet, who I did a live with recently, had such a beautiful way of putting it. She said, yes, our bodies are the vessel for our soul, but they're not just the vessel, they're the vessel. Like without it, we literally couldn't do what we're here to do. We couldn't fulfill our mission. We couldn't serve our purpose. It plays such an important role in our lives. And as such, we have a responsibility and an obligation and a privilege to take care of it and to nourish it and to really give it the attention and the respect that it deserves because it is here to fulfill such an important purpose. And I think that part doesn't come across when we're learning about tznius. And I need to be really clear. There's no malicious intent. It's not on purpose. No one's trying to like give us these messages, but when you sometimes when you try to neutralize something, it ends up taking on a negative tone later on in life when you don't have the tools to see it in the way that you should.
Can you give me an example of that? Like what someone would teach about the laws of tzniut that would be taken the wrong way?
Very generic, but I mean, we're taught to cover up. We're taught to not really show our shape so much, not kind of like, and it's, I don't even have words because I can't remember a specific lesson that I was taught that kind of gave me this vibe, but I think we're very much kind of like, like just hide it all, hide everything. And there's a very big
Is it
difference between
threatening?
keeping things, what?
Is it because like your body is threatening to the male gaze? It's not supposed to be, what's the word?
So there's two things that I think it boils down to, and I'm not an expert on this. I don't want to get into it too much, just because I don't feel I have the proper background. But I would say the two biggest things that I walked away with was one, it's special, and special it is, but there's a very big difference between keeping something private and hiding something. And I know that a lot of people walk away with this is something to be hidden because it's shameful. You could keep something private because it's beautiful, and you can keep something private because it's shameful. And sometimes, sadly, I think because it is directly kind of the messaging comes together with what you were saying that, it's
like sexualized or
yeah, and it
objectified?
becomes about right, and it becomes about the men, and you don't want to like
Right.
be a source of like a stumbling block, and that's no. There's just a little messaging that's off there.
Hmm.
Um, and then never mind that we like throw them into marriage, and it's like all of a sudden, oh, by the way, like get naked, be
Right.
comfortable with it.
Hmm.
Like
That's
you
really
can't
messed
really,
up
it's
with
not
that.
fair. Yeah. Um, so it's we
So
have a long way to go to
for
kind of
sure.
reclaiming the positive experience of modesty, but I think we can get there.
For sure, for sure. So I'm not sure how to phrase this question because like I'm confused about something
Yes.
because one hand we want, you know, we want our girls to take care of their bodies and, keep it private because it's beautiful and it's holy. But then on the other hand, we also want to teach young girls about what healthy sexuality is.
Right.
um, I just find that it's funny because you either find people who are like overly sexualized or like
Right.
they can't handle things, or it's like they don't know anything. Like I'm a kala
Right.
teacher, and I mean, I think most of my kalas, they're not like shomer negi or anything, but I
Mhm.
find that there are a few in the Persian Jewish community, not even because of religion, it's just because of
Right.
like we were taught to be like prude and all this stuff, like, and I find that some of them like don't know anything about their body parts, like
Right.
basic body parts.
Right.
And I just find that it's like it's a little weird that we have these like two different types of messages, like be sexy and like it's important to like be sexual and all this stuff, but then like no, 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 it's bad. So
I
like
don't have an answer. I
I don't
don't
even
have an
understand my
answer.
question. What?
I hear what you're saying. I know where you're getting with this. It's a question I have too. I don't have an answer. But I can give you, if it's a topic you want to talk about, there are some great people who um, are qualified to talk about it. I just don't feel like I am
Yeah,
qualified to
but I just
respond to
wanted to
that.
bring it out there,
Yeah,
like that.
it is. It is an issue. It is. I'm
For
with you.
sure, for sure. Okay, so you were talking about like accepting your body and being proud of it. So there's all this talk about like body positivity. I see it
Hmm.
everywhere. And
Yeah.
to be quite frank with you, it's confusing because
Okay.
you see like, very skinny models and actresses talk about body positivity, and then like they're showing their bodies in their bikini and like, well, obviously, like you're positive about your body because it fits the standards of society. But then you have someone like Lizzo who goes to a
Right.
basketball game and she's like doing a romp with like a thong, and like they're saying, oh, she's being positive about her body. So, like, where do we draw the line? Is being positive about your body showing off your body? What does it mean to be body positive, according to you?
Okay. There's a lot here. There's a lot here.
Oh, yeah.
I'll start. I'll start. And if you're like, no, that wasn't my question, just redirect me. But I think first we need to understand what was the root, what's the source of the body positive movement. And I think this is really important to know because this is something that not a lot of people understand or are talking about. Um, initially, the body positive movement was started by and for women in larger bodies. It was really a mission to, I don't know if the word is educate people, but like kind of get to a place where as a society we can accept and respect people of all sizes. Um,
Mhm.
we I believe, not I believe, I know we were created in the image of God. That in and of itself means that we are inherently worthy and valuable. There's no other way to phrase that. Like just by being a human, you are deserving of respect. You are deserving of being treated like a human being.
Mhm.
For some bizarre reason, thanks to diet culture in large part, we have gotten to this place where we judge people based on their size and we treat them accordingly. So the body positive movement really was about getting to a place where we accept and respect all body types. nothing to do with health, nothing to do with body image. It was just about this. It was a movement to accept and respect people. And I like need to put a disclaimer, like it's possible I'm getting some of the nuances wrong, but I think this is the basic starting point. What happened was, and why a lot of fat people are frustrated, is that they feel like the whole term was co-opted by society in general, and now everyone's all about body positivity. I personally don't have a problem with it. I think we need to respect all people of all sizes, but I understand their frustration. And then obviously we get into like, well, what defines fat? I personally define, I consider myself a fat person. But
you don't get like insulted by the word fat?
Okay, great question. I personally have worked on myself, and I have gotten to a place where fat is a neutral term for me. It's just my body type.
Wow.
So, and that is a big part of my mission and kind of the mission of the body positive movement. Like, you have blonde hair, you have brown hair, she's short, she's tall, she's fat, she's thin. It just is a body type. It's not a dirty word, it's not a bad word. So when that doesn't mean that everyone's there yet. And I know that sometimes when I use the word fat, it throws people off. But to me, it's a neutral term. I kind of need to interrupt and like share this really cute story. I spoke in England a couple weeks ago, and I was doing a session.
At Moods, right?
Yeah.
Nice.
So I did a co-ed session for 11 to 13-year-olds. It was a group of 21 kids. And I walked in and I had them start off, just to get a little buy-in, I had them start off by writing down like a body part that they don't like. I didn't look at it. They folded it up. They put it to the side. And I said, we're going to talk about body image a little bit today. Why me? Because I'm fat. And like there was a collective gasp from everyone. And a few kids were like, no, you're not. And I said, okay, let's talk about it.
Because it's usually used as an insult.
What?
It's usually used as an insult.
Right. So one of them said, you're not fat, you're round. Which is adorable. One of them said, there are people that are fatter than you, which is true. One of them said, it's not nice. You're not allowed to say not nice things about yourself. And I said, that's a great point. What if I don't consider it a bad thing? What if to me, it's just how my body looks? Is that a problem? And it was a great segue into the conversation of what is fat and why has it become this really dirty term? But taking it back, so for me personally, it's not, and I try very hard to neutralize it. And I know that not everyone's there, and I know it's a journey and it's a process. And there are some days where I'm still insecure about it, and everyone's gonna have days, even when you get to a point where it's like totally, all right, not a big deal. This is just a descriptive factor, and then someone's gonna say something, and it's gonna like hit you right in the heart, and it takes a second to get over that. Again, we've like absorbed these messages for so long. That's normal. But I still think it's important to kind of break it down and neutralize it. Okay, so where was I?
Talking about the body positive movements and how
what even defines fat? So I'm considered a small fat, which I have experienced fat shame and discrimination for my size. I have experienced shame and discrimination for my size, but I also have thin privilege compared to someone in a much larger body. I don't need to ask for a seatbelt extension when I go on a plane. I'm able to ride any roller coaster because the seatbelt will close on me. That's thin privilege. It's not something I asked for. It's kind of just, this is how I was born. This is the body I was given. So it's like, I want to say I'm fat. And when someone says, oh, you're not fat, that's very invalidating because, again, I've experienced that discrimination for my size. But it's very important to acknowledge that compared to someone else, I have a much easier time. Okay,
I'm so impressed. I'm really, really impressed by you.
Thanks.
This is no easy feat. Like, to come to this place where you have accepted yourself and that the word fat is not an insult to you anymore and it's just a neutral word. That's like, wow, kol hakavod. Because
thank you.
I think that's really true self-worth. Like, you value yourself for who you are inside, and you don't let society dictate how they make you feel. That's incredible.
Thank you. It's very much a process. It's very much a journey. It always has its ups and downs. There are definitely still days where I look in the mirror and I like grab all my stomach flab and I like hold it up and I'm like, that would be nice. That's hot. You know, like we all have those days and we all have those moments because again, we still live here in this world in reality. But I laugh so hard when the people talking about resistance are the people who are like, oh, health at every size and intuitive eating, which we didn't even get to. Hopefully we'll have time to explain those. But when health at every size and intuitive eating is just a fat person's excuse to stay fat. And I have the only appropriate response is to laugh because it is so much harder and requires so much more internal work to get to a place where you are comfortable with your body when the entire world around you is not, than just to go on another diet.
Mm-hmm.
It's way easier for me to go on a diet and say like, all right, I'm going to go with the flow on this one. To get to a place where you are comfortable with how you look, again, especially when everyone around you is telling you you're not, takes so much more strength and it's just it makes me laugh when people
100%.
just totally don't process that.
And I also think it takes a lot more strength for a person who doesn't fit society's molds of like that skinny quote unquote body.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like, you know, someone who is skinny and promotes intuitive eating. So, you know, the people who resist that are like, okay, easy for her to say. She doesn't have to go on a diet. She doesn't have to exercise the way I do because she's naturally skinny. So I don't want to go on this path. Like, I feel better when I'm skinny. So
okay, I love that you're saying that because that brings me to my next point.
Okay.
So we kind of address what the body positive movement started as. Right. And I want to now say, I think what it has in large part become, and this is a lot more of what we're hearing about in social media, is it's become about positive body image. Okay. So you can have someone, what?
It's different, you're saying.
It's different, exactly. And I'll explain why. You can have someone in a size 2 body and someone in a size 22 body, right?
Mm-hmm.
The person in the size 2 body is going to have thin privilege just by the nature of how they look and what their body size is. Someone in a size 22 body is going to experience fat shame and discrimination just because of how their body looks. We cannot change those facts. Now, the person in the size 2 body and the person in the size 22 body could have the exact same level of negative body image, alternatively, the exact same level of positive body image. So what we're hearing a lot of is fat people being frustrated with thin people co-opting the term body positivity because they're like, you don't even deal with all of that ridiculous nonsense that I have to deal with.
Right. And
then you hear the thin people getting really frustrated because, but I also struggle with my body. I still hate how I look. When you have a thin person who's talking about intuitive eating or anything it is, and she posts a picture on social media of her like grabbing her like teeny little baby fat roll and saying like, I'm okay with this. People in larger bodies are like, I'm not going to use any French on this podcast, but like, are like, you have no right to say that. And she's just feeling like, but I worked so hard to get to a place where I'm actually okay with this, because she could be struggling so much with how she looks and it has nothing to do with her size. So for me, I think people throw around the term body positivity, and what they're really meaning is positive body image, which is understandable. Like, it only became a difference because of how the roots of it. It's totally fair to use the word body positivity when talking about positive body image, but I just want to explain the difference and where a lot of that like political correctness comes from, and a lot of the underlying frustration and resentment is happening. And I know I was talking to someone literally 2 nights ago. She is currently in a thin body, and she made a comment. It was actually a totally neutral comment. And the word fat was in there. And apparently she had some like she got some flack for it. And so we had a conversation, and I think I unintentionally said like, you know, it's hard for fat people to hear that coming from someone in a thin body. And she was like, yeah, I know I'm not supposed to have an opinion because I'm thin. And really that wasn't my intention, but that is how a lot of fat people feel. They just feel like, you don't get my struggle, it's not fair.
Right.
And that's why I think it's so important to recognize that body image is something that we all struggle with. It doesn't matter if you're a size 00, a size 10, a size 28. Like, it's something that we all struggle with.
Right.
And you can't judge someone else's experience. And I will be totally honest and say I fall into this exact same trap, because when she said, like, I used to be a size 10, 12, I know a lot of people don't consider that fat, but they still consider it, okay, now you can have an opinion. I know it shifted how I thought about her. I was like, oh, you do get it, which is so wrong. Like, you could have, like, that struggle happens regardless of what your weight actually is.
So the difference
Yeah.
between body image, positive body image, and body positivity would be what exactly?
Body positivity is the movement to
The movement,
accept and respect all
all
people of
sizes.
all body sizes.
So would you say
Okay,
health at every size?
wait.
Yeah.
At the root of it was really about acceptance and respect for fat people.
Okay.
Again, not going to define fat. Whereas positive body image is about how I see myself.
Mm,
Now,
got
those are really, really technical terms, and most of how society and social media is using it today is not that. They're very
it.
much
I feel like they're
mixing
just
up the
mixed
two
up
terms,
together.
which is not, I don't think it's a bad thing per se. I just, when there's so much like
Yeah.
cross, there's just a lot of noise, and I think it helps to understand where that noise is coming from.
Got it.
Um, but yeah, but you asked me a specific question. Oh, so where do we draw the line?
Yeah.
I think it's not our place to draw the line. I think if someone is comfortable in their body, if you're okay with a thin person, and I think this really like brings out the beauty, so to speak, the ridiculousness of diet culture, because we're so okay with someone in a thin body wearing a bikini and promoting body positivity or positive body image. But when someone in a fat body does the same, we're like, what about obesity? And also, like, what about modesty? And also, what about, you know, some self-respect? And just like, no, that's such a freaking double standard.
Mm-hmm.
If you're okay with someone in a smaller body, the idea of the body positive movement is, let's get to a place where we're okay with someone in a larger body doing the same thing. Now, this is completely separate from a Jewish perspective of modesty. That, so I will tell you very, very, very honestly, because of the work I do in this world,
Mm-hmm.
I personally, and growing up, sneakiness and modesty was something that was very intuitive for me. I never struggled with it. It was something that I was okay with. I don't know how much of it is, you know, that's how I was raised, and how much of it is that was really something that I wanted for myself.
Right.
But now I have gotten to a place where I'm just like, it's beautiful. I think I've almost neutralized it to the point where, like, I don't see it as a sexual thing. It's just a self-respect thing.
Mm-hmm.
I know intellectually that's not the Jewish perspective per se. And so that is something that I'm currently exploring. And that's actually why I even got on a live with Chevy Salmon in the first place, because I was like, let's talk about this. Because I'm at the place where I've kind of become so comfortable and really, really gotten to the place where weight neutrality and body neutrality is a real thing in my life, that I'm just like, where does modesty fit into this? And it really does fit in. Again, beyond the scope of this conversation, but it definitely, there is a lot to explore there as well.
Right. But I also think that, like, this whole body positivity movement, I personally, I don't think that showing off your body in a bikini, whether you're a size 2 or a size 12 or a size 22, I don't think that's for people to consume.
Great.
Personally, you
That's
know?
fine. Yeah, that's totally fair.
I actually think if people observe the laws of modesty in the proper way, that it actually helps them utilize their bodies as a vessel and not as this object when it's
I
used in
totally
the
hear that.
correct way, you know?
I totally hear that. I totally hear that.
So I wanted to ask you.
Yeah.
So yes, there's this HAES. I don't know how you pronounce
Yeah.
it.
Haze.
Haze. Okay. Health at every size.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what if someone is obese. Studies show that obesity is linked to certain health issues. I'm not even going to go into it, but there's research and studies that obesity is a big, big problem. So how does the Hayes movement, address this issue?
Okay.
Where's the limit? Is there a limit?
Okay.
No?
So first of all, I just want to say I am officially obese. Just want to put it out there.
According to what? According to who?
BMI. According to BMI.
According to
BMI is total BS. I need to put it out there. The BMI is BS.
Okay, so people don't think that.
Right.
Yeah.
The problem is that the medical industry still uses it. But let's just back up for a second. The person who invented the BMI specifically said it's not to be used the way that we use it today. Let's just start with that.
Okay.
And it blows my mind that 200 years later, where we live in such a modern time and technology is so advanced and we're so about like moving forward with the times, we're stuck in this ridiculous, stupid, nonsensical BMI system that makes no sense. I'm just like mind blown by the fact that we could like progress in so many ways, and yet this is the one thing that like we hold on to for dear life. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Okay. So according to BMI, you are considered obese.
Yeah, and also just to like let you know, by the way, it arbitrarily changes. Like I used to be quote unquote in the overweight category. I don't remember when they changed it. I think in the 80s maybe. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on this. But one day they woke up and they said, hey, let's change. Like they literally just changed the numbers. So from one day to the next, hundreds of thousands of people who were overweight suddenly are obese. People who are underweight are suddenly average. Like there's a lot that goes on that we don't understand. Now, I don't want to bash the entire medical community because I think there's a lot of good that's done there. But I think it's important to say that a lot of pharmaceutical studies are funded by the medical industry. Where oh my God, what's the term? Conflict of interest. Conflict of interest. It's such an important like value in so many different industries. It does not exist in the medical industry. You cannot have a doctor. Doctors are prescribing medications that they get like a commission of, right? So to kind of place significant value on a lot of these research studies. Now, I'm not saying they're all BS. I think you got to know which ones to look at, but just something to keep in mind. And also not more importantly, but equally important, the studies that don't reflect the results that they're looking for disappear. It's not like we're seeing all the research studies that they've done. They're showing us the ones that prove a point that they need to make. And the ones that don't are shredded, deleted from the records. They never happened. I think again, that's not something that's ever spoken about. It's not something people know. Okay.
I mean,
now,
I'm not so familiar with this either. Because whatever the doctor says or whatever the pediatrician says, that's
right. And again, I'm not saying, this is not me saying don't listen to your doctor or pediatrician. They fill a very important role. I just think it's important for us to be educated and know what we're walking into. Okay, so what is health at every size? Health at every size is a movement, and the premise of the movement is that everyone could pursue health at whatever size they are. It does not mean that you are healthy at whatever size you are. It means you can pursue habits of health. Number one. Number two, it does not either say that fat or excess weight doesn't have any impact whatsoever on your health. Now, before we even get to that one, I need to say, I started with that. Let's just finish that up. Yeah. If someone has, for example, is carrying a lot of weight on their body, it is going to affect their joints. It may affect their joints. Now, will taking some of the weight off relieve the pressure on their joints? Totally. But dieting and intentional pursuit of weight loss has a 95% failure rate. Just for context, that's a higher failure rate than climbing Mount Everest. So if you're debating, should I climb Mount Everest or should I go on another diet and like sustain the 10 pounds that I lose? You have a better chance of climbing Mount Everest. Fun fact. Okay, so
there's so much.
Now, there's so much here, but yeah, 95% of people who lose weight gain it back, and up to 2/3 gain back more than they lost. I can tell you that's been my personal experience. Every time I lost weight, I gained back more than I lost. And I look at pictures of myself from 10th grade when I was a size 10, just for context, I'm now a size 20, 18, 20. When I look at that picture and I'm just like, A, I don't know why the heck everyone in her life was telling her she needed to lose weight. And B, if she had just stopped dieting then, I really believe if I had stopped dieting then, I would probably be about 50 pounds lighter than I am now. Again, everyone's body responds differently, but it's a very normal phenomenon for your body to hold on to more each time that you go on a diet.
Right.
So intentional weight loss is, we just know it's not going to work. So now if someone joints are really bothering them and the weight is a factor, what's the appropriate response? We're not saying weight is not a factor at all. We're saying we know that trying to lose weight is not the answer.
So what is the answer?
So what is the answer? So then we get into looking into habits of health, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe you need more movement. Maybe you need physical therapy. Maybe you need, I don't know. I'm not a medical professional. This is where we
refer a healthy lifestyle, meaning, a lot of people tell me, no, I don't diet. This is a healthy lifestyle.
Okay. So a healthy lifestyle is
healthy eating.
Okay. So as a general rule, healthy lifestyle is another term for a diet, as a general rule. Like, I just need to point out that
a lot of diets promote themselves as a healthy lifestyle. It's not
exactly. And that's, I don't blame consumers. Like, it's not fair. We're getting fed such misinformation. The weight loss industry is a $70 billion industry. Wow. $70 billion. You know what that means? It doesn't work. You know why? Because if it worked, they would be out of business. Do you ever go into like a bookstore or a library and like notice the section of diet books? Ever thought about the fact that every single one says they are the solution and pretty much every single one contradicts the other? Just think about that for a second, right? Right?
Yeah.
So dieting isn't the answer. What was my point? Oh, you asked about healthy lifestyle.
Yeah.
As a general rule, at this point, because there's so much like resistance to diet culture, it's like, okay, let's come up with a new term that people will fall for. So for the most part, that doesn't mean like you can't actually have a healthy lifestyle. Like you could have an actual healthy lifestyle, but typically when people say like, oh, I'm doing X, Y, Z, it's not a diet, it's a healthy lifestyle, code word for diet.
Interesting.
Okay, so now I want to get back to
where you draw the line about like obesity.
So I want to say before we even get there, I want to say I believe it's important to say that weight or fat could have an effect on health, as the example I gave before. I know it's not being spoken about a lot, and I know that throws a lot of people off because they're like, you can't just ignore this reality.
Right.
Now, I'm going to put that aside for a second, and I want to say this is a much, 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 much bigger piece of the picture, which is that correlation is not causation, and we've been taught to believe otherwise. So, for example, male heart disease is directly correlated with male baldness. So, males who have heart disease very often go bald. Are you going to say that that the baldness causes heart disease?
Got it.
No, that's ridiculous, right? It's almost like saying weight gain causes diabetes. Okay, now it is possible that weight gain or too much sugar or whatever the specifics are lead to diabetes. It is also equally possible that weight gain is a symptom of being a pre-diabetic. So if for whatever reason someone's body is getting into that state where they are about to become a diabetic, their body will respond by gaining weight. I need to put it out there. There is no scientific proof one way or the other. I'm not saying this is more correct than the other. Both are equal possibilities, but it's not something that we've ever even thought of, because all we know is you gain weight, you get diabetes. Again, what's the response? The response is not, oh, let's lose weight. Now, a lot of people who have diabetes and lost weight will tell you, oh, but that's what changed. No, it's not. It's not the weight loss that made the difference to your body. It's the changes in your habits of health. It's the changes in your lifestyle that are what affected the diabetes. Did you lose weight in the process? Very possibly. Does everyone lose weight in the process? No. Again, the response is not, let's ignore the issue because there's nothing we could do about diabetes. The response is, what is within my control? Because again, we go back to dieting does not have a very good track record, right?
That's so
If
interesting.
you went to the doctor, if you had strep and the doctor was like, okay, I'm going to give you medicine. By the way, pay me a lot for it, but it has a 95% chance of failing. Like there's a 5% chance it could help you.
Wow.
You look at him like he was nuts, but that's what we do on a regular basis. And that's why diet culture is so strong, and that's why it's a $70 billion industry, because we fall for it over and over and over and over again. Why? Because we're not comfortable with our own bodies. Because we have created a society that puts thinness on a pedestal and a certain aesthetic as desirable. And all we want is to be accepted. All we want is for someone to look at us and think we're beautiful. All we want is for someone to want us. That's the bottom line. Let's break it down, right? And so we're going to do what it takes to get that feeling. It's a feeling. We're looking for a feeling.
Right.
We want that feeling of being accepted and loved and respected and wanted. And so we're going to do whatever it takes to get to that feeling instead of looking inward and processing it on our own, which then kind of lets everything else fall away. And so what was your question again?
Well, I don't even know, but
where do you
it was about like,
so the drawing the line is, it's not for us to draw a line. God gave us bodies. God created, like, why aren't we all striving to be a 5.5
Right.
Because we're all made with different heights. Why are we not all striving to be a size 8 shoe? Because that's stupid, right?
That's a good point.
We all have different bodies. Now, the choices we make could affect our bodies, could affect how we look, or they could not. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. There is so much that is beyond our control. That's without even getting into what actually affects our body size and how we process nutrition. Socioeconomic status, pollution, where you live, what access you have. There's so many, how you process your emotions. There are so many things that go into what actually influences, right, health, and what actually influences our size that is beyond our control. There's really, really, really so little. And so what the Haze movement is promoting is, look at your habits of health. Look at how you could eat in a way that nourishes your body, mind, and soul. Yes, emotional eating is healthy as long as it's not your only coping mechanism. Look at the Torah. We eat when we celebrate. We eat when we mourn. We eat when we're doing mitzvos. Right. Eating is such a big part of our life. It's to satiate us, yes. It is to nourish our body so that we can serve God, yes.
Right.
But it's so much more than that. It's a unifier. It brings families together. It brings communities together. Breaking it down as purely nutrients is really, really, really letting a whole lot of it just drift away and it's not looking at the full picture.
Wow.
Which this is totally not a point I wanted to get into, but since we're
thank you for bringing that up. Yeah.
Sure. Wow. But I want to also add, I think what really hurts me is seeing a lot of teachers and rebbeim moralize food. Food is not good or bad. Do you like cheesecake, by the way?
Yes and no, sometimes.
Okay. Do you like chocolate cake?
I'm not a cake person.
Okay, I'm not a cake person. What do you love?
Pizza.
Pizza. You love pizza?
Love pizza.
I also love pizza. I'll meet you in hell because pizza is sinful. That's the message we grew up with, right? I remember sitting with my family and someone taking a bite of cheesecake. Oh, this is sinful. No, food is not good or bad. Food is amoral. Food has more nutrients. Food has less nutrients. Each play a role in our life. Yes, we should be making healthy choices. Nutrition is such an important part of how we eat on a daily basis. Anyone listening, do not walk away and say that I said nutrition is not important. It's so important. But know what role different kinds of foods play in your life. And
not only that, nutrition, meaning like food is not just for nutrition and it's not just for satiating you. It's emotional eating is not a bad thing.
Right. Again, if emotional eating is your coping mechanism and it's taken to an extreme, that's not healthy. Like everything needs to, have a balance.
Wow.
But it really bothers me when we're talking about working on our midos and different character traits, and it gets related to the example is always when you're on a diet, self-control, willpower. That really bothers me because I think it implants this negative idea and it moralizes food in a way that it doesn't have to be. You are not a bad person if you eat 2 slices of pizza. You're not a bad person even if you eat 1. You are a person who ate a slice of pizza. Done. So
Wonderful.
yeah.
So, wow. We can go on and on about this, but unfortunately we do have a limited time to speak. So I do want to cover some other areas
Sure.
before we finish. And
Sure.
one of the things I want to talk to you about is the shidduch crisis.
Oh, okay.
I know you do talk about being single quite often on your Insta handle. Is there a shidduch crisis? And if there is one, what are some ways you think that we can solve the problem?
Okay.
Problems.
Again, one more disclaimer. This is very much my personal experience and my perspective. It is not I'm not representing anyone on this. I have my experience with it and I'm happy to share with you. The idea of calling it a crisis, I think if it's a crisis, it's just because we've made it a crisis. That's the bottom line. Why and where and how it started, I don't know, to be honest. I don't really care. I mean, God is the master matchmaker. I don't know why we try to take so much power. Like, just why? Like,
right.
He's got someone for me. He knows my address. When the time is right, he will deliver him to me. Do I have to do my ishtadlus? Honestly, depends who you ask, because this is an area of life that's considered so beyond our control that there are people who say all you have to do, all your ishtadlus is pray, and there are people who say no, you have to go out and do the work. And I think a big part of it is, where's your level of emunah and bitachon at? Okay, but leaving that to the side, I don't have an answer. I don't know if there is one. Kind of like I said before about fixing a broken system. For a long time now, I've been saying I think it's a great system that has its flaws. And as I'm getting into it a little bit more, I'm trying to find the good system part of it. I don't know that it is. I don't know that what we've made it now, I really don't think there's a whole lot of it that's good. Do I like the idea of the research? Do I like the idea of being shomer nagia? Do I like the idea of it being a 100% dating for marriage goal mindset? Yes. Right. But what it has become, it's become so ridiculous. Like, for me personally, my struggle with it is my size. And I know that so many women share that with me. Men also. I'm going to speak for the women, but this is totally equally applicable to men. So many women share that experience, but everyone has something. I would like to meet one person who said they just breezed through shidduchim and there was not a single thing that came up. You're too smart, you're too dumb. You have a physical issue, you have a mental issue, you have a parent who's divorced. I don't know. Next thing you know, parents who are married are going to be an issue. Like, I'm just saying.
There's no perfection.
Right. There's always something, and we're looking for something that doesn't exist. And so again, I don't personally believe that it's worth the effort to fix a broken system. And I asked myself, this is something that I thought a lot about yesterday, because in realizing that shidduchim is a struggle for a lot of fat people, or people in any body larger than a size 4, specifically when it comes to weight. I took the initiative and I reached out to a number of shadchanim to ask them if I speak for professionally, so I speak for pay, and I asked them if I can volunteer and come speak to them, just to give them a little bit of education of what health at every size is. Wow. And why their weight-related comments to people that are coming from a good place. Again, there's no maliciousness in there. Their intention is to be helpful. Their intention is to help girls and women get more dates. Their intention is to help them get set up. But it's not just hurtful, it's harmful, right? Especially when you have someone who is finally on a journey of exploring what it means to have a healthy relationship with themselves and their bodies, and they really want that, and at the same time they also really want to get married, and the messages that they're constantly getting is, you are not good enough at your size. And so I reached out to them and asked them if I can come and talk to them about it, and part of me was like, is this even worth it? Because it's a broken system. is this even worth it? Am I wasting my time? I'm focusing on the fat people instead of focusing on the bigger picture, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the answer that I gave myself is, if it's going to help one woman less get hurt, it's worth it.
Wow.
It's an investment of my time, but I think again, it's about starting a conversation. I think once people start talking, I think once this gets exposure, hopefully it'll have a ripple effect and make a difference in other areas of shidduchim as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's important to say, I don't think the shadchanim are the problem. My perspective, the problem at its root are the moms.
Wow.
They're the ones dictating that this size is a need.
You mean the moms of the boys?
The
Or moms
moms
in
of the
general?
boys. The moms of the boys are the root. The rebbeim are the solution. Because at this stage in their life, I think the rebbeim and the Rosh Yeshiva are the ones who need to speak up. I think they're the ones who need to talk about this. But I think that shadchanim are perpetuating the problem. Now, I understand where it comes from their perspective, because I have spoken to a number of them about it. I think the two biggest things that come up is, if I say I don't care and I'm not going to take their personal preferences into consideration, they're going to walk away and go to another shadchan, and I don't want to lose my reputation. If I suggest an extremely large girl to a thin guy, he will find it offensive, which in and of itself is an incredible problem, but he will find it offensive, and then I lose, and then it starts to affect my reputation. So I don't blame them, but I also blame them, because they do have a role. And I think that's why, for me, I'm willing to take that step out and educate, because I think people just don't know. And if you don't know, you can't be expected, to do better. Now, with this issue in itself, we have a couple problems that I don't propose any solutions to. But the fact that we grow up in a community where there's no interaction between opposite genders, and then all of a sudden you come to shidduchim and you're thrown into it, they don't have a chance to explore what a relationship is and how a relationship grows. Now, granted, scientifically, statistically, women do have an easier time with attraction growing than men, but many, 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 many men have told me that attraction does grow. So it's there, but we don't even give it a chance because of the way that the shidduch system works. Additionally, guys have never even freaking touched a girl. Like, if they had the opportunity to kiss a girl, I think their perspective on what they find attractive would really change. I am not saying guys should kiss girls. I'm not proposing we do away with shomer negia. I'm not saying it is the problem in the system, but I'm saying within the broken system that we have, like, in an ideal world, this system could work, but we don't live in an ideal world. We have so badly absorbed the messages from the outside, like talking about, Sneas, what you were saying before, that it's private and it's something that we cover up, and we're not going to get into the women's faces in newspapers or not, but like, we stand so strongly with that, and those same people, that same community, is saying, what's her size, send me a full body shot. We're
contributing.
We're how far, right? So and take it a step further, this is not representative of the community as a whole, but I see like how much worse it gets with Balei Tshuva, right? Because I've heard from many girls and women who said, when I was secular and I would go to a bar, I got hit on all the time. And I'm not just talking about like the one night stands. These are women who have been in relationships. They have had boyfriends.
Interesting.
All of a sudden they're from now. Now, again, we live in a messed up culture. So the fact that they're Balei Tshuva is already a stigma and a point against them. Let's take that out of the picture for a second. They're being told they have to lose weight now because they're not good enough. And a lot of them feel like, this is what I gave up my life for? Like, really? Wow. You bring me into this community that is so holy, that has such incredible values, and you want to reduce me to my weight and my size? And they have a very good point. I don't have a solution. I have no suggestions whatsoever. I know that the work I'm doing is very much just a Band-Aid. But for now, for me, this is not my like battle I'm going to take on. And so for me, I'm willing to be the person who puts on a Band-Aid for the time being. I don't think it's ignoring the issue. I think it's just dealing with the reality that we have now as I work to create a better reality.
Wow, beautiful, Sarah. You gave us so much to think about and to explore. Even though you didn't give solutions per se, you did give a lot of material so that people can create solutions eventually. I want to give you one last question,
Yeah.
and it's, what are your hopes and dreams for the world?
I dream of a world where my children, God willing, one day will grow up um, in a place where they are not judged for how they look,
Amen.
and that their weight or size is not a consideration in anything they do in life. It's not, it doesn't affect how their peers see them. It doesn't affect their shidduchim. It doesn't, it just, it's not a part of the equation.
Wow,
That's
beautiful.
my dream.
Amen to your dream. And there's a saying, I don't know if it's in Pirkei Avot, that even though you can't finish the whole task, what is that quote? I forgot. I'm like losing
I
my.
don't know it in Hebrew.
But it's not your job to finish the task, but it is your job
Yeah.
to at least start it or do a part in it. So thank you so much, Sarah, for taking the time to speak to
You're
me and to
welcome.
plenty of other people who definitely need to hear this message. And I wish you a lot of hatzlacha, a lot of success in everything that you're doing. And Bizrat Hashem, at the right time with the right person, you should walk down the aisle and build a bait in Israel ben Eman. So,
Amen, amen, amen. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity, for having this platform. There's only so much I can do on my own, and it takes people like you who are willing to have these conversations and share it with the world. So I very much appreciate you.
very
Thank
much.
you.
Wonderful. Thanks again.
All righty.
All right. Hold on.